I'm going to start this review by saying I get a lot of messages from folks who worry they're about to spend hard-earned money on a grill that sounds great on paper but ends up being a disappointment when you actually fire it up. Most of the hesitation I see comes from three places. First, the fear that the advertised professional power won't translate to the backyard. Second, the concern that all those bells and whistles, digital temperature readout, LED knobs, a rear infrared burner will just be gimmicks that don't help you cook better. And third, the question of whether the price point really delivers enough value for someone who isn't a full-time barbecue enthusiast. If you're wrestling with those same doubts, stick around because I'm going to walk through how the Blaze LTE Pro 40-inch 5-burner built-in propane grill actually performs in everyday use, where it shines, and where you might want to keep looking. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing I noticed when I unpacked the Blaze LTE Pro was the weight of the metal. The 304 stainless steel housing feels solid, and that's not just about durability, it's about heat retention. In my tests, the grill held temperature well after the burners were turned down, which means you can start a low and slow piece like a pork shoulder and not worry about the grill temperature dropping dramatically when you open the lid. That kind of stability is a practical advantage for anyone who wants to get serious about indirect cooking without adding a separate smoker. Now, the grill's claim to fame is the 5 heavy-duty burners. In practice, that translates to a lot of flexibility. I set 2 burners on high for searing steaks, left 2 on medium for a chicken platter, and kept the 5th burner turned off for a side of vegetables arranged for indirect heat. The separation of zones is clean, there's no crosstalk or uneven hot spots that I've encountered with some other 5-burner models. The only real limitation is that each burner is controlled by a single knob, so fine-tuning each zone independently can be a little tricky if you're trying to maintain 3 different temperatures at once. For most weekend grilling sessions, though, the ability to quickly shift from high-heat sear to a gentle warm-up zone is a genuine time-saver. The integrated digital temperature display is another feature that tends to split opinions. On the Blaze LTE Pro, the screen sits behind a tempered glass panel and reads the grill's internal temperature every few seconds. In my kitchen-to-backyard routine, I found it most useful when I'm cooking larger cuts that require a set internal temperature, think brisket or a holiday turkey. By keeping the grill's ambient temperature in view, I could keep the lid closed more confidently, knowing the heat was staying where it needed to. The downside is that the display only shows grill temperature, not the temperature of the meat itself, so you still need a separate probe for precise doneness. If you're the type who likes tactile, analog gauges, the digital readout might feel a bit sterile, but for anyone who wants that extra data point without pulling out a separate thermometer, it's a worthwhile convenience. Lighting is often an overlooked part of a grill's functionality, and the Blaze's signature LED control knob lights plus interior grill lights actually make a noticeable difference when you're grilling after dark. The red LED ring around each knob lets you see the settings without fumbling in the dark, and the overhead interior lights illuminate the cooking surface just enough to see flare-ups without having to lean over the grill. I tested this on a summer evening with a batch of shrimp kebabs, and the lights gave me enough visibility to flip without overcooking. The trade-off here is power consumption. Those LEDs draw a small amount of propane, which can add up over long sessions, but the impact on fuel usage is minimal compared to the convenience they provide. One of the more unique elements is the rear infrared rotisserie burner. In theory, that burner is designed for gentle, even heat that's perfect for rotisserie chicken or a whole pork roast. In practice, I used it for a small rotisserie chicken and found the infrared heat delivered a crispy skin without drying out the interior, even though I didn't have a dedicated rotisserie kit. The grill's design allows you to mount a standard rotisserie spit, but the rear burner itself doesn't include a motorized turner. If you already own a rotisserie attachment, the rear burner is a great bonus. If you were hoping the grill would come with a built-in rotisserie motor, you'll need to purchase that separately. So who should really consider the Blaze LTE Pro? If you're a backyard chef who enjoys juggling multiple foods at once, say, searing steaks while smoking ribs and keeping a side of vegetables warm, the 5-burner layout and the ability to monitor grill temperature with a digital readout are strong selling points. The stainless steel construction makes it a candidate for a permanent built-in installation, which is a big plus if you have a covered patio.